Although I did meet Serena Williams' coach.
Oh.
I was introduced in a hurry, and it was just like
we're
we're both.
Gilbert, maybe.
I mean, it was so quick, and then we're both going. We don't know why we're talking to each other. Kind of because you know what they do. They're like, oh, you need to meet this, but it's called networking, I believe.
Oh,
but
sure.
I do not flourish.
Yeah.
And I've just gone. Oh, you're looking very Tennessee.
Oh, you're looking very Tennessee.
Yeah, and he's like, right, gotta go.
Your show last night was fantastic. Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure.
At the last second, I texted your wife, Jenny, and was like, wait, you have us down, right, for tickets to come? She was like, yeah. But I did get nervous. Do you ever have that where you're like going to a thing, all of a sudden you're like, wait, am I supposed to go? Do people know I'm going to? Do I have tickets for the thing?
Oh, my. When don't I? I didn't bring my wallet on tour.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I remembered a small carved aardvark, but not my wallet. So
Yeah.
I'm never in touch with what's
tell me this. You brought a small carved aardvark? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just really nice to hold in my hand, and I've sort of been clutching it for about 5 or 6 years now. It's good, mate.
Where'd you get it?
My wife.
Yeah,
Jenny.
Geno.
Director, producer, wallet holder, passport holder. I might be a hostage.
But what you're describing is reminding me of my wife, Jenny. Also, different spelling, Jenny. Your wife's is Jenney. Which, by the way, AI autocorrect in my phone turns my texting my wife into texting your wife.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh, that's a loop, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder, because I never text my wife.
Because your wife's in my. What I mean is your phone. Your wife's number is in my phone.
I know.
Which makes this sound more suspicious than it is.
You just made it sound more suspicious than it is. I assumed her number was in your phone, but then you just did that, and now I'm like, what's happening?
Well, her number's in my phone because you and I have been in touch for about a decade, but you are.
I don't touch, do I?
Yeah, you're kind of what's the term for non-tech?
That's pretty good. Maybe it's a contact.
Oh, a contact.
I don't know what that means. Okay, let's
What's
workshop
the word
this.
we're looking for, though? What's the word we're looking for?
A mole. Oh.
Yeah. Your wife is chiming in. She's giving some things that were actually not asked for, which are uncommunicative and unresponsive, which are, I think, not the word for non-tech, but tells us a lot.
She has to do with so much.
This is hilarious. The dynamic that your wife Jenny is revealing is so similar to my wife and my dynamic. It's but the non-tech word is phobe. Jenny, you know this word. Luddite. Thank you very much.
Sorry, what? I'm a Luddite.
Luddite. You're a Luddite.
No.
You're not averse to technology.
I'm averse to contact.
Oh, wow. But it's interesting because I met you, I want to say when you did Nanette at Soho was 2018-ish? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
So 2018, which is, I think, when you met your wife, Jenny.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I think. I don't understand time.
That's my wife also, by the way. Always claims to not understand time. I think not understanding time is a choice. It just isn't, and it's been the bane of my whole entire existence. Wow.
Which is on infinite loop in my head. All I can remember is 8:23, and I don't know why.
Let's talk about that.
My wife could probably chime in.
8:23. What's 8:23?
That's the time that I was setting the alarm in the morning.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Your wife just chimed in that 8:23 is the time she set the alarm to a few weeks ago, and you remember that.
Yeah. Look, what I'm trying to do with this new show of mine is to explain that, I don't think clearly
Yeah.
and in sequence of order. And I think there's something about my previous work, because I work so hard on it and do lovely structures, that I think people assume that I'm a top-notch communicator. And in fact, what I do on stage is a repair of my inability to connect thoughts with speech and time.
So my wife would say that's precisely what her poetry is.
Like, are we married or something
I know.
now? What's happening?
There's some kind of 4-person marriage that is on the horizon.
Oh, sounds a bit like, a polycube.
The
It is not.
It is not. It's not. But yeah, no, she has almost the exact same thing. She's like, here's what she'll say sometimes when we're late for God knows what. She'll just go, well, that's not who you married.
Oh.
You married someone who's not on time and doesn't understand time.
Oh, and it is really hard for you to understand not understanding time, I assume.
I do find that challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a joke recently where, from years ago, from Thank God for Jokes, that I posted on Instagram. And it was, what lay people don't understand about us on-time people is that we hate you. And the reason we hate you is it's so easy to be on time. You just have to be early. And early lasts for hours, and on time just lasts a second. And then you're late forever. I posted on Instagram. I receive a lot of very angry people.
Not immediately, though, I bet.
Well done.
I bet you this is just
Tip of the cap.
Yeah.
Tip of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Not immediately. Yes.
I don't understand time, but I have timing. This is what it is.
Beautiful, by the way. What the hell's that?
What's up with time?
By the way, put that in your show.
Which bit? I've forgotten.
Don't understand time, but I have timing. Is that in your show?
No,
That's
that's just
line.
a little bit of.
We're working it out.
We're working it out.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, and my wife would say, my wife Jenny would say the same thing. Doesn't understand time, understands timing.
Is this a therapy session?
It's not.
Okay, cool.
It's not a therapy session.
Okay,
I'll
great.
say that.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, it's interesting. So I posted that bit about being on time, being late, and you get a lot of neurodivergent people, which you are.
I'm not a people. No, go.
Which you are of. You are of, technically. And you talk about it in the show. And people saying, I don't understand time, similar to what you're saying. And then a lot of people angry at them for saying, I don't understand time. And it is a argument online that's spun out of control. I'm talking thousands of people arguing with people.
It's just such an unnecessary argument.
Yes.
I think it all boils down to brains are different and we've been brainwashed otherwise.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to undo that. And we're trying to undo it whilst also being exposed in such a deluge to so many different ways of thinking, being very arrogant that their way of thinking is correct. So it's just a lot of shouty crinkle brain on the internet, which has been built on a binary. So there's no actual chance for nuance. It's just zeros and ones.
Just write down this phrase, shouty crinkle brain. Because that's poetry, if I've ever heard it. Is that a phrase you've said?
Is your wife a poet also? Yes.
Shouty crinkle brain. Is that a phrase you've said, or is that?
I say chatty crinkle brain to describe anxiety.
Oh, I like that.
And when people are eating crisps in the theatre, I call that chatty crinkle bag. And I don't love that.
This is so related to raising our daughter who's
Look, I haven't aged. I haven't aged since then. Do you know when people say, oh, they're an old soul, right?
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
This is my first go round. In fact, when I hear people say that, I go, well, they must be middle-aged souls.
Right.
To at least know that other people have been around before.
Right.
Like, every day's a new day. This is fresh.
Yeah.
Or I'm such an old soul, but I missed a few shifts. So
I
I'm
like that too.
I
missed a few shifts.
because I don't understand time, and all of a sudden it's a millennia, and I'm like, what happens?
I talk about this all the time when people can relate to it, because I'm sure that you find, because I relate to what you're saying.
Because I'm your wife.
1,000%.
Okay, sorry.
We're not married technically.
Oh no, I thought you were just projecting. I'm sorry.
I relate to the thing you're saying of waking up and it feeling like a new day.
Oh my.
It is a shocking experience all the time. And I always compare it to the film Memento. Do you ever see the film Memento?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
So it's the character wakes up every day. Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
my show's about whales.
Wait, is that a whale tattoo?
No, it's a stamp. I just tested it last night.
Your show has a ton of beautiful jokes and story about whales.
Yeah, so if you're going to talk about whales, it's important for there to be a ton.
Are you writing all of your jokes for my daughter?
Look, no, but there's a childish quality to me, and
Yes.
I feel like that sort of gets lost in the conversation because of Nanette.
Because of Nanette. You
You
get
know.
people, this is a classic thing. Nanette is a beautiful show. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion. And people, I would say, this is a very common thing in culture. A lot of people don't even watch it. But then, and you and I were talking about this a little bit on your after your show last night. There's a whole group of people, probably a majority of people, who maybe won't see it, and then they hear about it. They shrink it down into Hannah Gadsby's comedy is like blank, and then they have an opinion about it, and so then your perception, your image, is in this opinion of you, which is like you're a storyteller. You talk about you do comedy, but you also do really hard stuff, that's challenging and etc. And meanwhile, the thing that gets lost in translation, but is in your new show, is like, you're silly. Mm-hmm. And I know you. I've known you since I saw your show almost a decade ago. I just know you're silly. You're funny. You make jokes like the whale joke you just made about you got to have a ton of them.
I guess what it is effectively, masking. My voice I had on stage was masking, and so I used to try very hard to be understood, and then that was really the critical mass of that, where it's just like, I've had enough. I don't care what you think. Boom. But it was more of like, I was a quiet person, then I just kicked off at a family reunion, and everyone's just like, whoa, you got a bit of bite. We thought you were placid. And now I'm just like, yeah, I am placid. I'm sorry. That was a bit unregulated.
Right.
It was an unregulated potato, as we say. And because I was going, it was about trauma, and so I was in trauma. Like, it wasn't made up,
It sort of has.
And that's what I'm doing with this work also. It's like, I use my work to try and just make sense of myself and escape discomfort. And so that was like, I'm escaping, trauma in this sort of, situation that was that situation and time. And now I'm doing something else, but it's a very different kind of thing that I'm trying to escape, which is anxiety. So the show is necessarily different. And every one of my shows is different, but no one's quite clocked that, because they keep sort of going back and go, well, it's not Nanette. I'm
Right.
like, no shit. I mean,
yeah.
why would I keep doing that? It's not like Me Too movement worked. It's not like a hashtag was any actual, equal to actual structures of power. So, you got to back down and just go, I'll just talk about whales now for safety. That's partly a joke, but also partly, I'm feeling very fatalistic at the moment.
Can you unpack that a little?
I'm feeling very fatalistic.
So in other words, you just feel like things are going worse, and then after that, worse.
Well,
you were saying on stage last night in your show, you beautifully put it, that you feel anxiety, and you're right, essentially.
yeah, and I think anxiety makes it worse, and I think that we're just exposed to everyone's anxiety, and if anxiety does anything, it builds. It's like a fire.
Yeah.
And so, but it's a fire that's just sort of spreading in ways that we don't understand on the internet. It's decontextualized, so you don't know how your voice reverberates, and there's no controls over that because it's profit first. So we've just built this world where it's profit first, and to try and undo that, you undo people's lives, because we depend on capitalism, which is fine. That's the system, but the system's, not great for our mental health, and so we're caught in this circle.
Yeah.
So that's, I feel like it's rational, but I'm not sure what you can do about it. Like I'm not, not an engineer, just like Elon Musk.
Yeah. Do you ever have, like, you and I have this thing in common, which is we do nonlinear shows.
Yes, but it's interesting that you do
Storytelling
it,
shows.
given that you understand time. Maybe mine are non-linear, because this is just a facet of my existence.
But meanwhile,
Maybe I thought I was doing linear shows, and now I just find out I haven't been.
I'm guessing in the process of, touring your shows, and the current one is Woof. You can go to the extreme of nonlinear and have it make sense, but certain audiences are probably like, we're not following this. Like, do you have that along the way where you have to calibrate the nonlinear aspects to get it to a point where an audience can get it?
This show has not been the same any night.
Oh.
I am desperate to make sense of this show. I feel like I just found it last night.
Wow.
I rewrote it again last night after I got home. It's just been a show that's been escaping me. Usually I have a sense of the shape of a show very early on. And usually how I attack a show is like 2 questions. What shape do I want the show? And that's informed of what feeling do I want the audience to leave with?
Yeah.
And I've been working off that this whole time, but I just haven't been able to let go of material that doesn't make sense in the show.
Uh-huh.
And that's not a problem I've ever had. There's several reasons for that, but one of the reasons is that I did do some run-ups in clubs because I thought, I should, see if I can still do that. And it's just a different art form to do short sets.
Yep.
But I kind of enjoyed the rhythm of that and the punchiness of that. So the top half of my show is stacked with that kind of rhythm.
Yeah.
And then I've tried to make it work and, understand why I can't let go of that. And the show has become that puzzle. So it started off one thing and now it's like, this is a detective game. And so I'm bringing the audience into that, like, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. And, so it's been a real struggle. So now, basically, what I've understood is for the show is that every show I've written before that is like I get closure and I tie things up into a neat little point.
Yeah.
And originally I was like, but I don't see the point. Do we deserve a point? Do we deserve closure?
Yeah.
And then I realized I think the shape of this show is that is there is no closure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of reflective of like, maybe it's unhealthy to try and have closure, and letting go is a good idea. But letting go is not about closure. It's about there is no closure.
Yeah.
And I've just shifted the show where it's just like, oh, how do I want to feel at the end of this show? And that's clicked into place. Like, I've been looking after how do I want the audiences to feel. And so at the end of this show, I'm just like, this is how I want to feel.
And your takeaway from last night was you want to feel that there is no closure.
But also, like, that, that's not the end of the world. This show began with me writing letters to Barbra Streisand.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, that's how much this...
For the listeners. For the listeners, there's no discussion of this in the show.
I've only just lost the last reference.
What you wrote, did you write that? Did you send the letters?
No, I didn't, but it was as an exercise because I am obviously going through some sort of crisis.
Sure.
And I was trying to, understand parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
Because... like I said, the net was such a big, rupture in my life.
Yeah, of course, a cultural phenomenon.
But, just for me personally, because I understood my audience as people I had performed in front of in festivals and built up slowly over the years. So when I performed the net live up until New York, I was talking to mostly people who at least understood who I was and where I was, And then all of a sudden I'm kind of just everywhere, and I just can't wrap my brain around who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
And I think the point is you just can't. But that's not how...
Of course you can't, yeah.
That's how my mind works. It's like, but maybe you can. And then
because it's
melt.
tens of millions of
and
people,
then my mind
basically.
melts.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know how to talk to them. Because but I know that's just like the autism just being magnified.
Oh, interesting.
And so I was trying to understand that because it's not sustainable to think like that. And I was like, I need to. And so I was like, well, how about if I enter into a public parasocial relationship with Barbara Streisand, you know, like
That's a good solution.
like then it goes, you know, so it was really fun, but it was unsustainable.
I think either way, regardless of whether you put that in the show, you should do it.
This is consistent feedback. I think I might take time next year and do that.
Come on. It's a great idea.
Thank you. I have them all the time. But so then
what was the goal? What was the goal? Because Barbra Streisand is so famous, having kind of a public discourse is kind of it's a metaphor for the whole thing.
Well, because her fame is stratospheric
and parasocial in the extreme.
Yeah, and you know, and I'm sort of in this little no man's land of, you know, neither here nor there, and I can't quite commit to anything. And I just thought it'd be interesting to, you know, how do, like, people watching me have some sort of parasocial relationship with me and watching me struggle with, you know, talking out loud the parasocial complexities and weirdness of it, like, I think sort of would open up, like, them to the questions I'm having about them.
Yes.
You know, without directly going, what's going on? What do you want from me? As soon as Nanette came out, I pretty much stopped going on social media. I couldn't. All you need to know about a rushing river is that it's rushing and it's dangerous to get in.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, I don't think that's great for my career.
Yeah.
Because that's how you have to navigate it. That's the game. And
Right.
I can't play the game. It's just fine. I'm fine.
You're more than fine.
I'm fine. No, I am. But I kind of want to talk about that sort of stuff in that, you know, way that, because I think so many people are experiencing it, like public-private persona as a private figure and trying to separate the two. But I have an art form to lean on for that. Most people just being themselves. And branding humans has never gone well for the humans.
Oh my God.
Make a list of how many comedians you know who've done television shows they've named after themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And stayed a good guy.
Oh, my God. Yes. Let's put that on a billboard. We do a thing called the slow round.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best piece of advice that someone's given you that you used?
Like, I always change my mind. I have to change my mind.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I make my mind up in a context where it works, and then it's like, that advice is no longer relevant. Jenny.
But shake the tree on it.
Oh, this is... And who gave me that advice, Jenny? Who gave me that advice?
But you sure say it a lot.
The thing is like, didn't I make up this advice?
Who do you give it to?
By the way, for the listeners, you're consulting your wife in the room right now, and it turns out it's advice that you gave, and you apparently say, which I feel
made
like
it up. My whole life is built around, the puzzle of my life is like, this is unsustainable. How can I solve this?
Our existence,
No,
as people, or you?
No, my existence.
Okay.
I do have autism, and it is really hard. And I have a lot of sensory situations that are just really overwhelming. And I'm doing this job, which is like, you know, I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy the thinking of it. But it's a balance between, you know, finding, you know, not getting overwhelmed and overstimulated, because that then gets on a bad cycle. Anyway, so this is a lot of our life. And I do this thing where I'm like, oh, here's an idea I'm having, you know, blah, 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 blah. I have an idea. And I'm just surrounded by so many capable people. And they're like, we've made this idea work. And I'm like, oh, good God, I've moved on. Anyway, so I like, you know, I can't keep doing this to people, because people work and people have time. You know, they spend time to make things. And I'm like, so we shake the tree on it. That's what I decided. I'll just shake it. So when I say, I have this idea, let's shake the tree on it. Best advice I ever got that I made up.
That's great advice. I relate to it entirely, because I'm constantly spouting out ridiculous ideas that days later I realize are completely ridiculous. I just want to understand the exact analogy. When you say shake the tree, do you mean what's the metaphor exactly? I just don't know enough about trees.
I just like trees. And just go, what's wrong with you?
Shake the
Talk
tree.
to me.
Shake the tree and make sure maybe it doesn't fall down. Kind of
If
thing.
things fall out of a tree, so you
Okay.
shake the tree and you see what's solid and what
There you
stays
go.
up. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's also very dangerous. If
I
you're
am-
shaking the tree for things to fall out, that's going to fall on your head.
This rarely happens.
Unless you use a thing.
This rarely happens on the show. Stealing it.
What's that?
I'm going to say to my wife all the time, let's shake the tree on that.
Oh, sure. Sure.
It's a great point. It also speaks to this exact thing we're talking about.
I should write a self-help book.
It's also speaking to this exact thing we're talking about, social media. Not enough shaking the tree.
First thoughts, hot takes.
First thought, hot take. And it's madness. There's no peace in it.
It's an electrical pulse.
Yes. No, but shake the tree. Yeah. See if it stays up. See what falls out.
Yeah, yeah.
Give it a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you say that to yourself.
Because I was so used to working alone completely. And like it has been an extreme pivot.
Yeah.
And then, so now I'm like slowly understanding how to navigate this new world because it is huge change.
Yeah.
And I'm autistic and I don't deal well with change.
Yeah.
And so I'm struggling to process it because I struggle to process things. And then the world had a pandemic and a situation and things just have not stopped unraveling for the world. The world is going through something also.
Yeah.
So I'm finding myself like, just unsteady on a macro and a micro level.
Yeah.
And sitting in this like point of like we're all grappling with concepts of public and private persona and the ideas of context without time and control and the splintering of ourselves into the ether.
Yeah.
So like
No, that makes sense. I mean, even like there was an SNL impression of you. That's how big your fame is. That this pop platform, comedy platform, assumes that the people watching will know this comedian, not just this comedian, but an impression of this comedian.
yeah, it's interesting. The SNL thing is interesting because it is like it's not just that, but it's also on SNL, isn't it? Like it's like I haven't hosted SNL.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So there's like
No, I think it's better though.
I don't mind.
I actually think it's better than hosting SNL. You don't even have to show up.
Yeah, right.
But do you like it?
I didn't like the crop pants. It's like
Yeah, there's something about that level of fame that must be disorienting to see that you're that famous that someone could do an impression of you on SNL.
Yeah, like a lot of that's disorientating, and that famous people know me. That's always odd because
Yes.
it was just a moment,
Right.
and particularly because I didn't have my head in that game. So I'm meeting all sorts of people. I'm just like, I don't know who
Well,
you
yeah, it
are.
wasn't the end game.
No.
Yeah,
'cause
you
I
just did
don't-
a show you're passionate about, and
I
then
don't
it
like.
exploded.
I don't like to do things where there's a significant chance I'll fail. Like
Yeah.
I keep my I have a lot of ambitions for my work, like as a piece.
Yeah.
But like I don't shoot for the stars. People like me don't shoot for the stars. Like we belong on the earth.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But so I didn't have my head in that game. I wasn't going, oh, this person, like, if I took any notice of, film and TV, it was
Yeah.
like I'd have a deep dive and watch one thing, right? And
Yeah.
just so I like, and then I'm like meeting Jennifer Aniston, and she's like, oh, I assume like the worst one was the tennis.
Tennis star?
No, although I did meet Serena Williams' coach.
Oh.
I was introduced in a hurry, and it was
Trying
just
to
like
think
we're
Brad
both.
Gilbert, maybe?
I mean, it was so quick, and then we're both going. We don't know why we're talking to each other. Kind of weird, because you know what they do? There's like, oh, you need to meet this, but it's called networking, I believe.
Oh,
but I do
sure.
not flourish.
Yeah.
And I've just gone. Oh, you're looking very Tennessee.
Non-communicative.
That's what I
Is
said.
what I've heard that you are
I tried though.
from your wife.
I tried. I said you're looking very Tennessee, and I
Oh,
did
you're
that.
looking very Tennessee.
Yeah, and he's like, right, gotta go.
Oh my God.
But then we're watching it when we're in Billie Jean King's box, which is a brag. Everyone should enjoy it. But it was fine. It was all a bit much. It was fun. I was watching the tennis. It was a lovely time. A lot of information. like a lot of visual
It is a lot
stimulation.
of
So I was
visual
like,
stimulation,
you
yes.
know, and they did that thing where they like, oh look, there's a famous person in the crowd.
Oh, they did that.
It's Neil Sedakis, and they just pumped out Calendar Girl, which is a very old reference. I listen to 50s music. I'm not meant to be.
But that was the song they played for you.
Not for me. It was Neil Sedakis.
Oh, okay. That's who's
He
in
was
the
in
booth
the
with
yeah.
you.
Then
Okay.
no, just in the crowd.
Okay.
And then it goes up, and then there's Anna Wintour, and then Anna
Oh,
Wintour.
okay, wow,
you know, they're
yeah.
just going, let's spot all the famous
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
This story is not going where you think it is.
Okay.
So you can just rest assured they don't put it on me and
Okay.
go, no, that's not what's happening. What happens is, I've forgotten her name, Anna Kendrick.
Okay.
Anna Kendrick goes up, and I'm just like, I knew who Anna Wintour was and Neil Sedakis, which is not the same as Ted Lasso.
Sure.
He's a singer from the 50s, I believe.
Okay.
This is my world, right? This is my cultural reference. Anna Kendrick comes on. No idea.
Yeah.
No idea who. And it's just like, I missed the Pitch Perfect films,
Yeah, yeah.
and I missed,
Up in the air.
yeah, all of the things. All of the things, I missed
Yeah.
them. Right, whatever.
Yeah.
My bad. But so I Googled. I'm like, oh, okay. 'Cause I understood the concept of Pitch Perfect. It's
Yeah.
good singing and it has Rebel Wilson in it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
So I'm
we're
like, oh,
compatriots.
yeah. I'm putting some pieces together. Okay, I can contextualize her. I'm like, oh, she's been in what I closed my phone and called ogres for a while, but it's trolls. So like.
Okay.
So this is where we're going. I'm overstimulated. Bear with me.
Okay.
And then when we're leaving, and then I said to Jenny, as we're waiting for a car to pick us up, I said, hey, Jenno, there's that girl from Ogres.
Oh, there's the girl from Ogres.
Right.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
no, it's not.
Yep.
Yes.
You're hot on the trail.
I'm so sorry, Anna.
You're hot on the
If
trail
you're
of the
listening.
Ogres cast. Oh my gosh.
And of course I was with a publicist who does this for a living, and she's like, you want to meet? And I'm like, before I could say no, she's across. She's like, Hannah Gadsby's here, would like to meet you. And I'm like, and Anna Kendrick turns around and goes, shut the front door. Oh my God. So she's a fan of me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, ogres.
Ogres.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of dissonance right there, because I've since found out, like, oh, wow.
Major star.
Yeah, and yeah, excellent talent.
Yeah.
Like, wow, right? But that's not where I was at. And
Yeah.
so we had this amazing, and of course Brittany Snow was there also, who I
Brilliant
also understand is
From
quite
Pitch
yeah.
Perfect.
Yes, I do. I have not seen the films as yet, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
well familiar with the
I
IMDb
don't think
page
she
now.
was in Ogres though.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think anyone was in I made up a genre. Anyway, so this is not a genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so there's this photo that exists of me standing between these two like little superstars, and they're just put together. They know how to do it, and you can tell like in the image they're just like,
Yeah.
and I'm like.
They have picture face. They have the picture face.
I'm just
thing.
like, I don't know. And I'm so much bigger. Like
I don't know.
I'm just really.
You put your
I'm s-
arms up in the air like a
yeah,
scarecrow.
Yeah, what do arms do? Like, I'm like a.
Oh my
you know, I
gosh.
feel like Forrest Gump half the time.
Sure.
You know.
I'm sure you do. I'm gonna get to the next slow
Let's
round
do it.
question. This one took 15 minutes. The slow round question.
We should have shaken the tree on it earlier.
All right. What is a time in your life when you remember feeling pure joy?
Every day's a new day.
Yeah.
Surely I've had it recently. Oh, I found a frog.
That's very cool.
It wasn't even a real one. Do you have the picture? You can show the picture. I don't know whether we'll just get Mike's reaction to my face with joy on it. I don't think anyone's really met it.
It's a fake frog.
It's a fake frog, but that is pure joy.
You are very happy. Okay.
I'm in a
question,
truck stop in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
And some poor kid left a frog on the table, probably their favorite toy. They're probably really sad about it.
Okay.
And I found him, and I loved him.
Oh, wow. You still have him?
I broke his leg.
Jeez.
I didn't mean to. It's not a hostage situation.
Is there a song that makes you cry?
No. No.
Don't get choked up at music?
I don't cry that much.
You don't cry that much?
No.
It's interesting.
I have a lot of feelings that don't get to a fine point.
Yeah. It's interesting in relation to your shows because you talk, I don't want to give anything away, but you talk about your dad and the stuff about your dad I find very emotional. Like, when you perform it, do you get emotional?
No, I think my griefs come out as anxiety.
Oh, that's interesting.
At this point. I did cry once, but that was because I had laser eye surgery. So just
So I try to work out material on the show, and if you have material that's sort of half-baked or kind of half stories or things, we can throw it out. But I wanted to, I'm just working on stuff having to do with my dad. It's interesting, you and I are dealing with a little bit different stuff with our dad, but thematically similar. And I've been working on this stuff on my tour lately that's kind of half-baked things about my dad, about how he would, when I was a kid, he'd fly off the handle about things, and then he would solve them, and then he'd have other problems, and he'd be like, "Where's the goddamn watermelon?" He was like, "I found the watermelon," and be like, "Where's the goddamn knife?" "I found the knife." It's like he's still yelling about the solution. And at a certain point, I'm like, I think this isn't about watermelon. I think it's just anger that wants to manifest. And I threw that out this week on stage, and it's pretty good. But it's like, I don't know. I want to throw it up to discuss.
It sounds like he's overwhelmed.
I know.
Sounds like he's an unregulated potato there.
Yeah, an unregulated potato, I think, is an accurate way to describe it.
Yeah. It is a really frustrating place to be, unable to look after yourself. Like, find a knife and a melon in a kitchen, I assume. Like, we weren't in his shed.
No.
Like, these things are probably going to be there. So I feel like that's an unregulation that's happening there.
I think you're right.
But also the running commentary always amuses me.
Yes. That's,
like,
Jenny describes me as the narrator of our marriage who nobody asked for.
No, your dad was
Yeah, my dad was like that too. Yeah, no, and maybe that's a tie in the show.
Yeah, you're just like, I don't want to be like a basic narrator like my dad. I'm going to be really calm. He's like, where's the knife? Where's the melon? I got him. Like, that's not a story, is it? You can't sell tickets to that.
Yes.
That?
I think you're absolutely right. I think that what you're pointing out, I'm going to definitely try in the show.
Please do.
The thing that I'm trying to figure out in my head in real time is...
Do you like your dad?
No, I love my dad.
It's a little joke.
I have complicated feelings about him. But I think the thing I'm trying to figure out is how do I tie those two things together thematically in a way that that it's not telling the audience that I'm tying them so directly together.
You shake the tray on it, and if a melon falls out, I stab it. I don't know that you don't necessarily. I think audiences like it when you go, hey.
Yep.
Like, I don't think people. I think sometimes hiding something like that is hiding a little bit of joy that people enjoy.
It's really interesting. Yeah, because I'm imagining the part of the show where I talk about being the narrator of our marriage and nobody asked for. And then potentially I could pivot into, my dad was like that when I was a kid. He'd have the solution and he'd blah, blah, blah. You know, he'd go, this.
Do you zoom out and then narrate the show?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Do you do crowd work and then narrate the crowd work?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
that's always a fun.
Zoom out.
Yeah. Well, that's lovely. This is a perfect example of working it out. Sometimes people will say to me, you don't work out enough on your show. And I go, well, sometimes it has to do with the guest, how interested they are in working ideas out. And what's one of the things I love about you? You do love talking about process and kind of breaking things apart.
Yeah, it's much nicer way to spend your time than stabbing melons.
Well, and I think the thing that you're describing, which is his, I'm not sure exactly how you just described it, but that he was a live wire, so to speak. I think part of it has to do with control, because he'd be at work as a doctor, and he'd say scalpel, and someone hand him a scalpel.
This is my life, yeah.
Yeah. And
shake the tree on it. Do I need a scalpel?
No. And then he'd come home and he goes, "Where's the rake?" And I'd be like, I'm watching the Celtics, you know, and he'd be like, where's that goddamn break? You know what I mean? And I'd be like, Larry Bird just hit a 3-pointer. He's like, where's that goddamn break? You know, it's like,
this is
literally
not
spilled tea.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Which I
It's
cannot replicate.
that's alarming for a doctor.
Oh, I know. But
But it must be high stress.
Supposedly at work, very calm.
Well, you'd have to be, but what you got is like a day of calm,
Yeah.
and then you come home and you want to rake.
I know. You want to rake.
This is just, I mean, it's just the world men built.
Oh, do you think that's a man thing?
No, I think it's the world men built.
Oh, interesting.
It's like where you know, it used to be men, but it can be anyone these days. It's just given everything, and like you're the guy, and we're gonna clear everything, and you don't have to regulate your emotions at all. We're gonna make sure that you don't have to do that, and then they don't, and they swan through life, and then their first little hiccup, they lose their mind.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right.
So we just need to make everyone's life who has a nice a little bit harder, so we can make everyone's life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I don't think women need to be paid equal to men in sport. I think men in sport need to be paid a little bit less.
That's a great joke. Have you done that as a joke?
No.
Oh, come on. You got to use that.
I'm very busy.
I know you're busy, but come on. You're one of these people. I always say this about Mulaney. I've known for years and years. One of these people, you and John, a handful of other people, someone should be chasing you with a notebook every day and just writing down stuff you say. The thing you just said is fully formed joke. It should be on stage. You just whip it off, and then you're like, "Is that a joke?" No, it's just a thing I thought. It's like that. Mulaney's like that too. I mean, this is absurd. That's not a joke.
I've forgotten what it was.
It's just about women.
Oh,
women shouldn't be paid more. Men should be paid less. It's a great joke.
Is it a joke or is
Yes,
it just
it
smart?
is
Is it just smart?
Yeah, but it's a truism. It's a truism.
Yeah.
that
Okay. Well, I'll see.
is a
I don't think
little-
we're allowed any more jokes in this show. But
All right.
We'll keep it. I'll
Fair
get one of
enough.
these. I'll get one of these.
Maybe you could help me fix this because this is a joke. I always think it's funny as an idea. I've done it in front of an audience. Nothing.
Okay. Classic.
My dad always came to my soccer games, but it wasn't a great fit because I wasn't good at soccer. So I felt like I wasn't properly showcased. And he'd always say this phrase. He goes, "It doesn't matter if you win. It only matters if you try." And but he always seemed to enjoy it most when I was winning, and he never seemed to notice when I was trying. And I think it just makes people sad.
Yeah. Like, do you want a joke there?
Maybe.
Because
Maybe
that doesn't
not.
have the rhythm of a joke.
That's interesting. So you just think it could fit in the show, but maybe you just live in it.
Yeah, like I think what you're saying there is like you have complicated feelings.
Yeah.
And that's a good, and like I think it's perfectly acceptable for a joke about soccer not to have a goal.
Yeah. Nice. Score.
Thanks. How about that? They don't laugh. and you go,
1-0.
It's a joke about soccer. Sometimes there's no something.
I hear what you're saying, though. You're saying it's an interesting piece of emotion, but it doesn't necessarily have to be funny.
Did he notice when you tried and you won?
Yeah.
Or you tried,
Yep.
he just didn't notice when you tried because he's too busy noticing that you lost.
I think so, yeah.
It's because he wants to know where things are all the time.
Right. It doesn't fit.
Where's the rake? Where's the melon? Where's the goal?
Right.
Like he's very goal orientated.
Right.
Ooh,
I like that.
goal orientated. A little soccer joke.
That seems really nice. I'm gonna
Shake the tree
I'm gonna shake the tree on that. Obviously, we have the title of the episode. Shake the tree.
Shake the tree. I have a little joke.
What do you got?
It's in the show,
Okay.
and I love it. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. But it's the one where I talk about grief.
Mm-hmm.
I'm anxious about exploring grief as a public person because there's no roadmap for how autistic people are supposed to grieve. But you can grieve incorrectly as a public person. It's true. I saw it on the nightly news in the 1980s. That dingo did take that lady's baby. And she still went to jail because she did sad wrong.
Wait, I laughed at that joke. However,
Because I said the word dingo.
no, because I knew roughly the dingo ate my baby reference, but I didn't know it well enough to fully grasp the joke. Can you tell me what the news story was?
Well,
And did she go to jail? Is that
she
real?
went to jail for killing her baby, but the dingo took the baby, and it was the media pile-on and corruption, and people were like, well, she's not sad. Like, look at her, she's not sad. She's not crying in the right places. Why would you put a black, matinee jacket on a baby? There's something wrong with you. You're doing sad wrong.
But
And she went to jail.
But she did.
And she was exonerated.
Oh, she
'Cause
was
she did not.
exonerated.
Yeah.
She didn't kill her baby.
No.
It was the dingo.
It was a dingo.
It actually was the dingo, and she said the dingo ate my baby. But the way she said it.
No, that's the way Meryl Streep said it.
Oh.
Dingo took my baby.
Oh,
Like, it's haunted me
gosh.
my whole life,
Oh
Meryl.
my gosh! In what movie?
You don't know this?
Jeez.
No, this is the thing that I think is happening. Sorry.
Yes.
Can I interject?
Yeah, of course.
Because Americans know that expression.
Yeah.
Dingo took my baby.
Yeah.
But they don't know it's a movie. They don't
Yeah.
know it's a real story.
Okay.
They don't know there's a real
Let's
story
unpack
about
this.
it.
This will be the final thing. Yeah, I think we have to unpack the reason maybe the joke isn't receiving the thing that you wanted to receive is I only know the phrase dingo ate my baby. That's all I know.
No,
I
I'm
don't
just...
know there's a movie. I don't know what the news story is.
No, it's just that it's getting inconsistent, so I don't know how to work out what to do with the joke, because sometimes people just laugh, and I think it's just because I say dingo.
Right. Or that you're saying dingo ate and baby in component parts, and we know that story roughly.
Yeah.
I think honestly, like
It's just got the rhythm of the joke.
well, yeah, exactly. And for American audience, I would say for American audiences, I think that you should try. I mean, you're here for a few more weeks. It's like I would try doing it where you literally explain the story, because I think that the joke will kill.
It is also a show full of references that I
It's got a lot of references. Yeah.
don't care if everyone gets them all.
Right.
But there's also like because it is a repetition of mine. I saw it on the nightly news in the 1980s.
Yeah.
So that's why it's...
But I think you have to at least give a half sentence to. There's a story in the news. It was huge in Australia where a woman's baby was killed.
I don't know. Like,
No,
I
too
think
long. Even now, too long.
Maybe I should get you to come on and be the narrator.
Yeah, that's what you need.
And then you're just
Yeah,
like,
that's what you need.
I'll just pause and you come out, what's happening here? Hannah doesn't want to explain this to you. So you're sitting in a bit of confusion.
This is the
And Hannah is not really... Hannah's being a little selfish about this because more concerned about the rhythm of the delivery. But talking about a news story in the 1980s.
This podcast is a prank show where
Lindy
comedians
Chamber.
come on and then I explain to them that I'm going to be the official narrator of their show from now on.
I really enjoyed narrating as you just then.
All right, very briefly, I do think half a sentence of there's a news story that was blank, 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 move to the joke.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Or
What I'm after
do
here
the joke
is
and
the-
after.
What I'm here for is the blank, blank, blank. That's what we're working out.
Yeah,
What
but
is
the
the blank, blank,
No, but
blank?
I'm saying
How do I describe this whole cultural phenomenon with blank, blank, blank? This is what we're working out.
I just said it a second ago, and then you go, no, it's too long.
Yes, and now it's blank. Let me say, maybe
And then
it's too short now.
I'm saying
Blank, blank, blank.
I'm saying blank, blank, blank.
There might be something in the middle.
I'm saying I'm doing shouty crinkle brain.
So is it like Lindy Chamberlain? No, I don't want her to know. Like,
No, I would literally just go. There's a news story from the 1980s where
do you think they've not put that together with context clues? I saw it on the night.
I'm telling you, I couldn't. I think of myself as an astute audience member, and I couldn't put together. And I grew up in the same exact era. I would literally just say, "There's a news story in the 1980s. All you need to know is, everyone thought that this woman killed her baby, but the dingo ate the baby." Blank joke.
Blank joke.
Or what? I don't remember that. Blank, blank, blank. Shouty, crinkle
This
brain.
has been one. That's been very helpful. I do think that this is good advice.
Are you being facetious?
No, this is a problem I have.
Okay.
When I try to be sincere, I focus really hard on I really want to communicate sincerity, and
Yeah.
then I just really disarm people, and they go, "You're taking the piss." And
Well, your
it's
wife has told me you are non-communicative, so
and unresponsive.
and unresponsive. Okay, the last thing we do is working out for a cause. Nonprofit you think is pretty good, and we give money to them, and then we link to them in the show notes.
It's the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network.
Awesome.
They're a non-profit organization. The motto is "Nothing about us without us."
That's so beautiful.
Thank you. I did not write that, but
Nothing. I know you didn't write it, but it's beautiful.
so it's
Nothing about us without us.
yeah, it's autistic run, and it unlike it's just trying to help autistic people and it exist really,
Yeah.
and be in charge of their own lives and offering support to do that. It's not a lot of autistic charities work to try and cure autism. That is not what this is about. It's about empowering and enabling and providing external scaffolding, and also making advocating that it's not just sort of straight white cis men who work in Silicon Valley who have autism. Like there's every community, every walk of life has neurodiversity, and that's something to be celebrated and needs to be accommodated because the world is built for one kind of brain, and that's unsustainable.
That's beautiful. I think you're a phenomenal role model for that community, and I think it's great that you support that organization, and we'll contribute to them, and we hope the listeners will as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for coming on. It's such an honor.